but talk about what's been going on the ground there. And in terms of the influx, the increase in the amount of the Israelis and what they're doing to you guys on the ground.
Well, I think that this has been happening for many years. Like, this is not new. They have been living here for many, many, many years, but the community is growing little by little. And basically, Katherine and I and some other guys, we started to talk about this, and like how uncomfortable we feel about these people living here. So we just started to peacefully protest, just Palestinian flags and some signs, and they started to react very aggressively, like really insulting us to our faces. And even like we did a manifestation at the beach, and one of them came to us, and she took one of the signs that we had, and she started to break it. And then they called the police, and the whole thing, like, it's like they believe that they somehow own the community just because they live here, just because they have a lot of money and they have businesses here. And there is like specific areas in Nosara where it's more concentrated of, let's say, foreigners who live there. So they feel that they own that area.
Can I interrupt?
Sí, por favor.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nosara, when people say Nosara, the actual town of Nosara is much further south than where the gentrified part of what people call Nosara is, which is Playa Guiones. So
the beachy, strippy,
exactly, and it's actually a refuge for turtles. So it's a protected area for turtles. So development here is a very touchy subject already, because there's laws and there should be laws and regulations that protect the turtles due to lighting, like due to light pollution,
noise as well,
noise, and just wastewater, But that's a tangent. So, but what I wanted to address is that the gentrification has happened for many decades, because Playa Guiones is also known as the American Project, and it was a development in the 1970s, and it's really accelerated from the 2000s until now, and more specifically post-COVID and post-October 7th. There's always been Israelis around, and I would, one very sort of popular one that people may have heard of is Pachamama, which is a little bit south of here, which is like an eco village. And so anyway, the Israelis have been there for a while, but then it's really exploded, I would say, since October 7th, and the influx has been tremendous. And I have seen it, just having lived here for the last 8 years.
She knows more than me in that sense.
Well, one of the reasons that
I'm one of the foreigners. I have to say, I'm one of the foreigners. I'm a U.S. citizen,
I was going to say, you're not a local, you're not a native. No,
I'm not.
But,
yeah.
If I didn't have,
I'm a Costa Rican,
but you're not disrupting the ecosystem. That's the way I would describe it.
I mean, I tried to not be, a I try not to be a colonizer in that respect.
And I always, like, for me, and I noticed it when I've been twice to Costa Rica. I have not been up to where your region. I've been to an area in Puerto Jimenez, Lapa Rios. I don't know if you've ever been down to that area. It's just,
guess what?
That's south,
a huge part of land next to Lapa Rios.
Lapa Rios.
Yeah, well, like recently, Israelis bought a huge swath of land next to the Lapa Rios.
Oh,
yeah,
it's so unfortunate. I can see the difference is they want to make everything be about them. See, if I were living in Costa Rica and if I didn't have kids, I would have been there a long time ago. I would have moved there a long time ago. But I would just be living how you're living. I wouldn't want to bring the shit here there, because if I like the shit here, then I would just stay here.
Yeah. Well,
That's
sadly,
what's so infuriating about them.
sadly, it's happening, you know. I mean, we don't see signs in Hebrew yet. And but
At
you
least
know,
not here, but in Santa Teresa, which is like 3 hours south from here, Santa Teresa is the Tel Aviv in Costa Rica.
Oh
Literally.
no. Oh.
Literally. Signs in Hebrew, the restaurants, menus in Hebrew, they have their own everything, you know, and
How
they
do the locals
behave.
like that? How do the locals like that? Like, they can't possibly like that.
They get used to that, you know, because they come with a lot of money and they set up everything, you know, and they hire local people because, you know, like these are like really local poor communities that have been abandoned by the Costa Rican government for decades. So just fishing communities, you know, and then development starts to grow, but out of foreigners' hands. So they provide employees and stuff. And also what happens is that the level of education, unfortunately, in these rural areas is too low. So people don't get access to information about politics and especially to what is happening outside, you know.
Right.
So they don't know much. And also there is a cultural aspect to it that we as Costa Ricans, we are kind of warm and welcoming.
Yes.
And we share, you know, like we are somehow pura vida, all this philosophy of pura vida. We love sharing with people. And we can be kind of innocent or naive even, like, you know, and yeah, sometimes even like locals, they have told me like, hey man, but what are you doing? That's too far from here, you know. Israel and Palestine, all this is an issue that has nothing to do with us. It's too far. And I try to explain them the connection between Zionism and what is happening here in Costa Rica through our government and in the community, but it's a very slow and deep process for them to understand the situation on a wider scale, because the way of living of local people, I'm not from Nosara, I'm from San Jose, I'm from the capital, from the city. But I'm a beach guy. I've been living in different beach areas in Costa Rica, and I moved to Nosara like about 4 years ago. So people here live day by day, you know, just more grounded in nature, more simple way of life, which is beautiful, but it also has disadvantages when you start to live with other people who come here not grounded in that hard, you know, like way of living. They want to colonize. They want to impose their mindset here. So it's something like that. I don't know if I answered your question or if I went.
No, I think it goes without saying that this is the problem that we have seen all over the world. It's not just something that obviously October 7th has drawn a greater spotlight on the problem, but Israelis, with the backing of our government, you know, the hierarchy within our government structure, is to basically allow these people to dominate the globe as they see fit, whether it is to come to places like Central America, whether they go to Cyprus, whether they go to Southeast Asia, particularly to Vietnam and Thailand, Philippines. What they've done, obviously, in the UK. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, London is the test ground for all of it, because you're seeing right now with the likes of the Tommy Robinsons of the world, what they will do as far as convincing people that that Israelis are they're our God. Like they are the chosen people, and we must adhere to their will no matter what they do. And that, I think, as much as anything, is one of the primary drivers of why ending Zionism, or at least defanging Zionism altogether, is the global issue of our time, because they don't just come to your country to invest in it. They come there to invest in their way of life and screw your people over in the process. And unfortunately, because money in a global capitalist system flows the way that it does. The people are the ones who end up paying for the damage that your government ends up doing because they're getting bribed. It's that simple. The Costa Rican, the Panamanian, their governments are being bribed to allow the Israelis to come in. And
absolutely. That is happening basically all over Latin America. Especially, I think that Argentina is the worst case.
Yeah.
The worst case. My partner, she's an Argentinian, so we have been following like somehow the situation there, and it's horrible. It's terrible, but it's happening all over Latin America, and yeah, it sucks.
Katherine, I just wanted to ask Katherine, tell me about the organization that you have, because obviously you guys are activists with or without the Zios that are taking over your area. I mean, obviously there's other issues that are going on there, but what is the pro-Palestine movement like down there? Like, how is that?
We're called Nosara Revolution, and I was kind of doing things on my own with other activists too before I met Emanuel. And actually, when he first texted me, I was very like, "Who are you? Are you like spying on me?" But
she thought that I was a Mossad agent.
I've always felt deeply that this movement should be Costa Rican led. It holds no water for me as an immigrant here, because ultimately this is Costa Rica. I hold residency here, but it is so much deeper when it comes from Costa Ricans because it's their land. And whenever I meet with Emanuel, I say, se defienda su tierra, like defend your land. Because at the end of the day, I could leave tomorrow, other Americans can leave tomorrow, and he's left here with no other choices with his Costa Rican passport. And he has to look around and see the results of what's happened as a result of the colonization of these, by Zionists. So when Emanuel, messaged me, I was really, really happy. And he has really put himself out there in ways that is extremely brave for such a small community. This is a fishbowl. When you walk down the street, people know your business. People know exactly who you are, and there's repercussions to that. Emanuel, it's we're really lucky to have you. So we're still a very small group because as much as there are people coming in, not many are willing to put their face out there. Yeah. So Emanuel and I first started because we had a table at the farmers market to collect petitions against the free trade agreement with Israel that the Costa Rican government is, pushing through. And so we were gathering signatures at the farmers market. And even then we had vendors ask us, could you please move aside because, you're hurting our business here. And, that was hard to take, right? Yeah. At the same time, we did get a lot of signatures. And then, at the same time, we did get accosted as well by Zionists on that one day who came up to me and, he said, are you part of this movement of from the river to the sea? And I said, yes. And he said, well, that means you want to kill my mother, my grandmother, my family. And, it's just
Katherine, I'm getting to the point now where I want to tell them, yes, I do.
Actually, we do.
What are you going to do about it? What you need to do is go crawl into a hole and disappear. Because as far as I'm concerned, when we're
I'm allowed to want people to be dead. I don't, but I could. It's my right to think what I want. That's what's so frustrating. Even if I say from the river to the sea, and that means that I want Israel to cease to exist, okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I actually do want Israel to cease to exist. It doesn't mean I want you dead. I want the apartheid, settler colonial entity to be dismantled. That doesn't mean I want you dead.
Yes,
there's a lot of people that need to get what they've got coming.